What are the worst video game mechanics? Triggers that need to happen within a specific time window, and the player has no way of knowing about it outside of a guide. It's one thing if it's an Easter egg, but actual story/character progression? Get the freak out. Walking next to someone while they tell me why I should care about what should happen next. I remember a time when cinematography was used for framing and storytelling to get me invested and help tell a story. Now I just watch YouTube videos while holding roughly the direction I'm meant to be traveling. I don't think I have ever understood the story of an Assassin's Creed game. I still like the series, but hate this aspect. It's a huge problem in open world games for me. Escort missions. Especially escort missions, where the target has a synchronous move speed relative to the player and is aggressive towards enemies that can pimp slap them into next week due to an utter lack of HP and armor. The best escort is the kind that goes, "I'll stay here behind this rock, you go ahead and clear the way and I'll catch up when you're done." Missions involving water, 3D swimming, is still extremely annoying mechanically, and much of the time water has the effect of slowing your movement to a crawl or sometimes outright killing you if you go into it. Fish or piranha type enemies are invariably absolute spasmic crackheads that are a pain in the ass to fight. There is a reason murlocs are one of the most hated enemies in Warcraft. Multi-avenue defense. I really dislike the sort of missions, especially in strategy games, where you're tasked with defending a base with multiple disparate entryways and not nearly enough resources or time to build appropriate defenses for all of them. I understand and appreciate the challenge involved. It's just a personal dislike of mine due to how stressful it is. I extend this frustration to RTS games that allow enemies to bring in reinforcement via magic behind your defensive lines, or otherwise get ludicrous amounts of off-map help, or can make use of extremely long-range artillery that outranges any defensive counter, necessitating you to take offensive measures you can scarcely afford thanks to all the defense construction you're required to do. Scripted losses where they don't auto-level the boss so that it's way stronger than you and you beat the hell out of the boss but somehow magically still lose to them because it's scripted. I can't count the number of times where I've been stomping the absolute creamy warm runny shit out of a boss, taking out like a third of its HP with one attack. It hasn't hit me once, and I'm so much higher leveled than them that it would deal 0 damage, even if they did hit me. But then it goes to a cutscene and suddenly I'm on the ground, barely able to move, while the boss, that I had just utterly obliterated, is standing above me, gloating about how I'm too weak, and I can't possibly beat them. Motherfreaker, I did beat you. That's what triggered the freaking cutscene. I'm literally 27 levels higher than you in a game with a level cap of 100. My stats are so much higher than yours it's literally impossible for you to deal damage to me. Eat my freaking ass, you lying freak stump, you lost, and you know it. Don't use scripted losses in games. It's stupid as hell and robs players of their agency. But if you absolutely, positively, have to use a scripted loss, make the boss's stats tied to the player's stats. So no matter how strong the player gets, the boss is automatically way stronger, so it actually makes sense when the cutscene starts and the boss is gloating about being stronger than you. To pick a different answer. Superfluous mechanics. Stuff that was added for the sake of adding things. I feel like Minecraft got hit with that. There's also a bit of that in WoW, where the devs constantly add new systems and they are either replacing something that didn't need replacing or making established systems unnecessary. Time/progress sensitive missions. The one thing that stops Mass Effect 3 from being my favorite in the series is that you have to keep track of which side missions you complete before progressing the main story, so you don't miss any. There aren't that many of them, but it's still annoying. I like to dawdle around in RPGs. Also, I hate pointless fetch quests that force you to go to XYZ places just to end up back at the beginning, especially when they require /trigger loading screens. That was probably my chief complaint with me and Ramida. Follow the radiation trail from this planet to this planet to this asteroid to this planet to this planet. She landed on the part of planet you have to go through 2 loading checkpoints to reach. It screams of vapid content only designed to fatten up the player hours. excessive hand holding and or tutorials. This is pretty common in a lot of JRPGs, and it's nearly turned me off from the whole genre. As a Ghibli fan, I'd love to play Ni no Kuni, but after watching a couple videos of it, the hints and tutorials that completely destroy the flow of the game just made me uninterested. I'm halfway through Dragon Quest Builders 2, nearly 40 hours, and it still treats me like I'm playing baby's first game. As an example, there's a quest near the start of the game that basically repeats what you have to do several times in a row from different NPCs. We really need seeds to grow a farm. But how can we find them? Can I just go dig for them? I've heard there's an animal that can sniff out seeds. You mean this dog I found like 5 minutes ago? But I haven't seen an animal like that for a long time. But it's right here. Oh, this villager might know. Sigh. Okay, I'll go talk to them. Oh, yes, I know this animal can be found near the swamp. I already found one. I gave it a pat, and it followed me here. Go check out the swamp and see what you find. Yes, totally just came back from the swamp. Oh, my goodness. You found a dog. How is this possible? Now, if we just knew a way to use it to find seeds. Smashing head into a brick wall. That's the entire game. At first, I thought, well, it's so kids don't get too confused. But then I thought about games like Minecraft and Terraria, which are extremely popular with young kids, and they do just fine. Then I just found it tedious and aggravating. Anything non-side quest outside the general purpose / mechanics of the game. Been playing a Sherlock Holmes game which is mostly finding clues, interviewing people, etc. Then suddenly some unique poorly explained mini game shows up. Hey, why not make some ice, or arm wrestle, or walk across a rope bridge? We won't tell you how we've decided to score this, and it uses skills not present in the rest of the game. But it's important, and you only get 3 tries. Geo. Also games that want you to draw a correct conclusion, while not actually giving a fully correct explanation. How are you meant to Sherlock Holmes it, when I have all the clues, but they all work for both explanations? Add a clue that rules out stuff, or make the decisions more open-ended. The game is actually pretty good though. Gets the atmosphere and style down nicely, and actually works pretty well as a game, above complaints notwithstanding. Unskippable tutorials, and even if you have to confirm 3 different text boxes that you actually don't want or need the tutorial, it's still better than mandatory tutorial. It keeps you from replaying. If it's like a sequel to a game you previously played, you'll know already. I actually think every developer who intentionally puts that in a game deserves a special place in hell. Those puzzles where you have a row of lights and a set of switches, and each switch lights up 2 or 3 specific lights, meaning that you have to either memorize which switches light up which ones, and do the puzzle normally, look up an online guide on how to get past it, or just frantically flip switches. The only thing that saves it is if there is any sort of hint showing or giving you a clue on how to do it correctly. Having to wait like a minute behind to regenerate health. You know what I want? I wanna rush at every enemy in the room and have them drop health packs when I kill them. I don't want to have to stop and wait 10 times in one fight. I want to never stop and always be killing. Any of you who have played Doom or any classic shooters will know why it's just better. I'm sad that the screen read, hide behind cover, regenerate, repeat thing has become the norm. It just slows everything down so much. Unskippable credits. Cough Mario Galaxy cough. Actually, Mario Galaxy mechanics in general. You're telling me that Mr. Jimmo wants trash blown up in 30 seconds and gets more trash if I fail. Or the Boo speedrunner wins, so I die. Galaxy 2 fixes on the Jimmo parts with a fireball challenge, but no need for it to be timed. Not only that, but they completely underestimated the triple jump. There are so many skips possible with it. Increasing the challenge in later game by handicapping your character. Offender that comes to mind is Batman Arkham Asylum. The game spends 10 hours teaching you to master the gargoyle mechanic. It's the basic evasion and striking method you use to interact with enemies, the other being the grates you hide in. Then suddenly they've all been blasted by the Joker's henchmen. You can't use them anymore. The game has explicitly taught you to rely on this mechanic, then takes it away in the late game to ostensibly increase the challenge. There are better ways to make a game progressively more challenging without handicapping the player. This one's different, because it's not aggravating, it's just pointless and inexplicably common. It's that mechanic where you can inspect an item, and when you do, your thumbstick can move it. It is super popular and almost every AAA I play has it. It'll fill your screen and you can just rotate it, and flip it a little bit and that's it. Like I understand that maybe you Uncharted thought it let players play with relics and that's fine. It does its job. But why did every other game add it? It's just pointless. I spin the item once and exit out. What did this add? So yeah, not the worst as in most offensive, worst as in least good in proportion to commonality. This is gonna be very WoW centric, since it's the game I've stuck with for 16 years, but I'm sure other games have these same mechanics. Time gating. I hate the idea of daily quests and MMOs. Even more, I hate those missions at the table, where you send your minions out, and they won't be done for 16 hours, or whatever. Contrary to many others, I love grinding. I love the combat style of WoW much more than games with non-cooldown based attacks. Give me a million quests, where I have to kill 10 zealots, or collect 12 ears. Back in Burning Crusade I farmed Zaxx's Insignias for hours, to get the rep-based dagger for my rogue. That being said, I'm loving the Scourger stones that were introduced with today's event. Repeatable quests with no time gating. It's gonna take a while, but I'll upgrade most of my gear. Also, I absolutely loathe any quest or siege weapon that changes my toolbar, like when I have to ride an eagle or whatever and drop bombs on things, or other silly attacks that aren't my normal ones. In my opinion, the need to scout for a key in order to open a door is just ridiculous. I mean, I get it, but ugh. I'm not saying all doors, but if I have a chainsaw, shotgun, machine guns, rocket launchers, grenades, an assortment of weaponry of the futuristic / alien / demonic variety, superhuman strength, and supernatural abilities, then I shouldn't have any issues opening a shitty ass Home Depot looking door to a storage room. Like the Doomslayer has a literal fuckdom sentient ethereal cube, made of spinning blades and a gigantic plasma launcher, both of which can take down the biggest of demon behemoths, yet lightly kicking a door is beyond his reach. Alternately, if the doors are that goddamn strong, then at least let me up to toss out all of my other weapons, and just wield the door. Clearly it's stronger than anything I currently have. A co-op mission in a single player game that is a requirement to unlock better gear. Now that's already bad, but if someone were to make it so loot was randomized, meaning if you wanted a specific thing then you had to do the mission 2 more times, now that would be a glitch and obviously not a mechanic, right? According to Assassin's Creed Unity it's one of its selling points, along with its fluid and dynamic parkour system. I'm 99% sure Ubisoft have no idea what fluid or dynamic mean, because their parkour system in Unity sure as hell ain't either.